Most importantly, this space is one in which esposa is multiply raped, and the tools which she will need to navigate the pastoral space are eliminated, likely lengthening her journey towards safety in the arms of esposo as well. Atrevidos me desnudan, quitaronme mi callada, mi zurrón capilla y lomba, y con golpes me maltratan. As is logical, this violent event leaves its mark on esposa, who suddenly shifts from past to present tense in order to relate it to her fellow shepherdess, in order to intensify the event. Of course, beyond the bruises and other marks left by the rape, esposa is likely troubled by the symbolic significance of this violent act, since it might represent a definitive rupture from her husband. At the end of this brief play, we come to understand that the desired space for esposa is in the arms of esposo, which of course allegorically represents the mystical way of union. This space is contrasted with the others in terms of its peacefulness, among other things. Although initially one at the cost of violence, esposo says, "Este anillo trueco por la espina al clavo," making allusion to Calvary's cross, Christ's initial claim to specific relationship with humans. We now have sosiego in the arms of the beloved. Amor. Bien mi poder se muestra, por una eternidad goza tu esposa bella, entre los dulces lazos con que ahora la acercas. Esposa, descansa, luz amada, que la quietud es esta que tanto has deseado. Esposa, qué rica estoy en ella. Esposo, estos dulces brazos que ahora tocas, por un siglo te enlacen, bella pastora. On this note, the play ends. Ahora, Marcela de San Félix, hija de papá. Marcela de San Félix was a nun of the Discalced Trinitarian order, and thus followed the same reform rules as did the Carmelite nuns. Fittingly enough for our purposes, she was the daughter of Lope de Vega, which is well known, and if his surviving correspondence is to be given any credence, arguably one of his favorite children. Marcela grew up in a physically and intellectually privileged environment afforded by her father. Eventually, however, her childish desire for trinkets and ribbon in one case, and a willingness to steal and copy love letters written by Lope to one of his mistresses, Marta de Nevares, and another, gave way to a desire for true spirituality, and Marcela confessed at the age of 16. She joined the Trinitarian convent in Madrid to avoid the worldliness that Lope, as is well known, could not or did not want to completely abandon. However, they continued to see each other regularly, and he supported her confession. Some examples: he writes a poem upon her confession, he supplies a modest dowry for her, he preaches regularly at masses in the convent in which she lives in Madrid, he funds the convent together with Cervantes and other occasions, and they have regular visits, etc. When Lope transgressed in Marcela's eyes, however, these visits could cease temporarily, since Marcela did not want any offense of the darker tendencies of this vida doble y desordenada to influence her spiritual quest. Like her father, Marcela is the most prolific, talented, and best known among her class, Bro convent drama practitioners. She left 6 coloquios espirituales and 8 loas. True to her character, the villains of Marcela's drama are those who breach the convent walls uninvited and unwanted, harking back to her father. Such as her own father, when he did not measure up to Marcela's exacting spiritual ideals. In Marcela's drama, we see that these breaches led to both traditional and alternative understandings of violence. In her case, on the part of the nuns themselves, or on the part of those who would defend them. For example, in a series of 4 of Marcela's 6 surviving coloquios, which Arenal and Sabate Rivers characterized as un arte de hacer nunca, una especie de tratado de vida contemplativa, the nun figure overcomes all the obstacles allegorically represented as vices to achieve union with the Christ figure. In the first coloquio, the vice appetito is killed all 3 times. Other coloquios represent the death of other vices, mentira, traición, tibieza, and celo indiscreto, to be exact, with the help of allegorically represented virtues such as piedad, devoción, y contemplación. These plays, however, present the battle between the vices and virtues very cleanly, and the focus is more on the resulting peace of the victory than on the battle to achieve it, which is understood rather than iterated. Marcela's loas, however, present a slightly different picture. Characterized by Aguinaldo and Schlau as la otra cara de la personalidad contemplativa y mística de San Félix, that the coloquios espirituales represent, in the loas we have a very human Marcela, who will show an aggressive and even vicious nature to confront and eradicate what she considers to be an affront to their hermetic spiritual world. In the two loas that I will reference here, numbered 9 and 11, Marcela confronts a licenciado who has come to recite poetry in exchange for food. What follows is an hilarious exercise in metafiction, a peek into the real world of the nuns, in which lack of food and jealousies abound. In spite of this, however, the licenciado represents a spiritually significant imposition in his violation of the convent walls. His very person, in contrast to the religiosas tan limpias, perfiladas y compuestas, is an attack to the senses and sensibilities of the nuns, as well as their spiritual quest, of course. He says, tengo grandes desconciertos de tripas y cabeza, estoy hidrópico y tísico, tengo modorro y viruelas, charampión, bota coral, lamparón y sordera, and so on. His very lineage could be said to be at war with the ideal more seriously represented in the coloquios. He presents himself before these brides of Christ as the son of el más celebre rabino and a grande bruja del Logroño. Anxious to be rid of the foreign element, Marcela says, estoy como una pimienta, hecho por los ojos, fuego y pólvora por las penas. She later indirectly characterizes her violent reaction as limiting to the spiritual quest at hand. Las vigorosas pasiones andaban ya muy revueltas, desencuadernando todo. In the end, her sense of humor has a very serious purpose, that of defending order against imposition, a breach that, if her rejection of her own father is to be admitted, she took very seriously at the end of the day. The second law, which also features the licenciado, exemplifies for our purposes, more than anything, his characterization of Marcela in light of her vehement rejection of him, as again, Marcela uses her sense of humor for serious purposes. Aquella sierpe, aquella áspera Marcela, bociciega, boquibrojas, bosquispinas y asperezas. En mujeres las más crueles, las más míseras y malas, que han contado las historias ni que han fingido las fábulas. In conclusion, it has been my goal to present the extent to which the fila de nacimiento and Marcela de San Félix characterize the space in which they achieve their spiritual goals, and how a violation of that space led to certain types of violence. Of course, in the case of the fila de nacimiento, the violence is real, if metaphorical. In the case of Marcela de San Félix Loas, the violence serves a more comedic function. Nevertheless, in both cases, violence is represented as a product unwanted in the case of the Files Esposa, if in the case of the Files Esposa first solicited, incursion into the cloistered space of the Spain of interlopers who would challenge the spiritual quest of the Carmelite and Trinitarian sisters of the 16th and 17th centuries. Thank you.